Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 48 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How you guys doing?
Doing all right.
I am tired. Gotta tell you,
Tired?
I am exhausted.
Well, wake up already.
J- just got back from Disney recently, and it was just an exhausting trip. I mean, a Disney trip is always exhausting, but this one was even more so. So we flew out. Our flight Friday morning was at like 5 a.m. or something stupid.
Oof.
So we had to be at the airport for 3 a.m. We were there so early that the baggage check area, there was no one even working until like 3:30. There were just lines at all these for different airlines waiting of people waiting to check their bags, and no one was working.
Oof.
It wasn't until 3:30 that people came up, like started actually checking bags. So it's like, and that's like, oh crap, like how long is it? How long is this going to take to like check our bags? Are we got how's security gonna be? Are we going to rush to the gate? So like we checked our bag, and then we got down to security, and both my wife and I are TSA pre-check, but the TSA pre-check line wasn't open yet.
Of course.
So we had to stand in line with the peasants. But
Unbelievable.
when they checked our ID, they're like, "Oh, your TSA pre-check. They had like a laminate piece of paper or whatever. They're like, give this to the security people. They'll let you walk through. Like, you won't have to worry about taking off shoes and what have you. You can just go through the metal detector and not have to deal with all the BS of security." So I mean, that was a perk at least. So yeah, we woke up at like 1:45 Friday morning to fly down. We went to Epcot real quick just to get our annual pass holder magnet, and we hit Test Track because that's one of my favorite rides at Epcot. And then Saturday and Sunday, my wife ran races. So each day we had to wake up at 2 in the morning.
Oh.
So 3 straight days of waking up at or before 2 a.m., which was rough. And like Friday night, I'm pretty sure I fell asleep at 6:45 at night.
I'd believe it, getting up that early.
And then on Saturday night, I went to bed at like 7 again. And I woke up to go to the bathroom at like 8:30. And all the Disney resorts do like activities at night and everything. And that night they were doing a movies in the park thing on Saturday, and they were playing Princess and the Frog, and and you hear kids laughing and the movie going on. I'm like, I'm thinking people are trying to sleep. They have to wake up at 2 in the morning for the marathon. And then Sunday we did a full day still at the park, so woke up at 2 a.m. We didn't go to bed until like 10 o'clock. Or no, 10 o'clock. So we did the new night show at Epcot, Luminous, which was pretty cool. But it's like, all right, that's a long ass day. And then Monday night, we're like, let's do an after hours at Hollywood Studios. So we didn't go to bed Monday until like 12:30. So yeah,
Oh boy.
running on empty.
Sleep schedule wrecked.
Yes, very much so. I was very excited to be in my own bed the other night.
I'm sure. I typically don't sleep so well outside of my bed.
I was honestly so tired that I slept like a baby.
Yeah.
Slept like an absolute baby. Like, just was so tired. I mean, all the walking you do at Disney every day gets you.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's just like, I mean, it's just a great time to begin with. Like, I love Disney. I love the rides. I love the food. I love the weather for the most part. Like, it wasn't hot as hell for once this time, so that was nice. But yeah, it was a different kind of Disney trip, but still had an absolute blast. Got to ride Guardians twice, which is always a good time. So
Nice. Glad you guys had
yeah,
fun.
thanks. Can't wait to go back. Already trying to figure out when I can go back to Disney. The sooner the better.
Yeah, I haven't been there forever.
Yeah, it's been a long time for me, too.
High school, I think.
Whew.
That's probably the same for me.
Yeah.
We went down for band.
Yeah, the marching trips, yeah.
You two need to change that.
My problem is like I won't fly, so like I'd have to drive down or bus down or something.
Ooh,
So
I like flying.
yeah,
I
I'm that.
I don't mind.
It, everybody tells me like and I understand the statistics where like you're more likely to get in
It's
a
the
car
safest way to
crash
travel. Yeah.
than the plane to go down. But I'm that 0.001% where that's my luck. So I just don't get on a plane. I won't do it.
Sort of nice to just like drink a beer at the airport before taking off. It's like have a beer, get on your
There's a
flight, fire
sneak in
up your
that
Switch.
Xanax that
Yeah.
all the old women I know do.
It is nice to be able to just like play your Switch uninterrupted for like 2+ hours when you're on a plane.
Yeah, and if you have Bluetooth headphones like I do, you can even route the sound easily. Like so you don't even have to deal with the cord.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just too afraid of my bad luck taking over.
Truth.
Well, we about ready to get into it.
Let's do it.
Let's that.
Today, we are talking about episodes 17 and 18 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Episode 17. Take care. Picking up where we left off last week, Zine has a decision to make. Stark was able to get the party access to an empty cabin in the village. Zine has the night to think about his decision. Cue the new opening.
I really before we talk about the new opening, I really like how divided Zion is on his decision. Like he hasn't been traveling with the party for that long, but you can tell he's really enjoyed his time with them.
Yeah, we've only known him for a little bit. Surely he wouldn't leave the party so soon, right?
Dun, dun, dun. So we get our brand new opening. This song is called Sunny by Yorushika. This is a pop rock song, and it starts kind of softer and with just like some vocals, some drums, and some soft guitar chords. But it slowly kind of builds and by adding some bass, and then it kind of punches at the end. The visuals for the opening, they're more like animated the way the show itself kind of is, instead of like the different kind of artwork we got in the first kind of opening. I think the song's fine, but I just love that first song so much that this one just doesn't do it for me. When I watched the first half of the show up to this point, I never skipped the opening. I'd watch it every time because the song was just that good. This one kicks on, and I'm ready to hit skip to get into the actual story of the show. So, unfortunately, this one doesn't do it for me. I don't think it's a terrible song. It just is not nearly as catchy as the original. So, meh, this one gets skipped.
The one thing I noticed while watching this new opening credit, a lot of characters we've never seen before.
It makes me happy to move into the next arc because I want to get to know these characters. The character development and personalities have all been very good so far, even the guys we get for only one episode. So I'm looking forward to that quality of character continuing. As for the song itself, yeah, I thought the first opening was better, but I also skip the opening usually, either way.
How could you skip the first one? It's too good.
Sometimes in a rush.
At the cabin, Zine is gathering firewood and Fern is gathering dinner for everyone. Stark is sewing his clothes while Frieren is just reading a book. Of course, Fern says she is frozen, and Frieren says it might be a new record as Frieren grabs Fern's hands. Stark wants to see as well. He grabs her hands and agrees they are very cold. As Stark shivers, Fern comes up with a devious plot. She touches Stark's face, which makes him scream. Zine thinks they're all ridiculous.
I am calling ship on this. Sean, I know you are with you being married, maybe your wife does the same, but I know when my wife is cold, she will put her cold feet and her cold hands on me to warm up because I always run hot. I don't know if it's the same with your relationship, but
It's flip
I'm
flopped in
always
mine.
getting the
I'm the cold
Oh,
one.
really?
Yeah, yeah, she's the furnace. For some
Yeah.
reason, in relationships, it seems like there's always a hot one and a cold one, and they fight over the thermostat. The person who's hot always wins, and the house is always kept too cold.
I think my wife would agree with that because I'm always hot, she's always cold, and I'm always like, "Oh, it's so hot. Let's turn the heat down a little bit." Meanwhile, the heat's at like 65.
Yeah, I reference this all the time, but when my old college roommate left early, he kept the room nice and cold. And whenever he left, I cranked the heat up all the way, and I would like wake up in a pool of sweat, peel myself off the sheets, and it was beautiful. Oh my gosh. Every day, a house should be like 78 degrees. Oh my gosh.
I'm jealous.
Oh,
I
it's
just want
so
to be
hot.
warm. I just want to be warm.
I am also always cold, so I understand that. After dinner, it begins to snow. Frieren says they will leave in the morning unless there is a blizzard. When they wake up in the morning, there is a blizzard. Did anyone else see that coming?
No.
Frieren says they have no choice but to wait it out. There just so happens to be a magic shop run by a shady old man. Those are the best places to find legendary magic spells, like getting rid of mold and oil stains.
Getting rid of oil stains is definitely a legendary spell.
Considering you can't even do it with technology we have now.
Exactly. Have you tried getting oil out of anything? Whether it be like motor oil or like cooking oil? Good freaking luck.
We get a montage of the party training, checking out that magic shop, and hitting the bar.
Yeah, I love the free run part of it. Every time they do these montages, free run always cracks me up. She's like hanging out with the shady old man. They're floating books around, and then the books fall on her because she's clumsy. And at least she wasn't in a mimic this time, but still, she found a way to be kind of clumsy and be up to some hijinks. The show's very peaceful.
The town elder tells Zine the storm should be passing soon. Just then, Zine realizes the party didn't spend any of their time together. Frieren then enters the bar and asks for Zine's help. Fern and Stark are fighting, and she wants Zine to mediate. Zine asks, "Why me?" Frieren says this is a priest's job. Back at the cabin, Stark is looking sad in the direction of Fern. Fern is facing away with the cutest look on her face. I know she's upset, but just the look of that pouting face. Zine asks who did what to whom. Fern says it is all Stark's fault, to which he agrees and says it's always his fault. Zine wishes to speak with each of them separately and drags Stark into the other room. Stark says he wanted to get back at Fern for touching his face with cold hands, so he did the same thing to her. You dummy.
Dude, you can't just sneak up on a woman and grab her. When they show the animation, he like grabs her shoulder and like puts his hand on her face. And I'm like, yeah, honestly, probably startle me too.
Talking to Fern, Zine says that Stark is sorry and didn't mean to upset her. Fern says she wants to apologize as well. She isn't upset that he touched her, but the hand he used to restrain her actually scared her. Stark has to learn his own strength and learn to control it better. The two make up. Good job, Zine.
I love this scene. Zine is the captain of the ship. I just love the maturity he brings to the party. Like, he has that dad energy. He's like trying to make Stark and Fern better and not have to like be quibbling about everything. Like, he sees it's very obvious that they both have feelings for each other, but neither of them know how to express those feelings.
I would totally agree. It's great with Sign because Frieren is she's kind of like Fern's mom. So I don't think Fern would take the advice from Zine differently than she would from Frieren because he's like a neutral third party and didn't have any say in the development of Fern. So I think that having Zine around is really good, and he definitely can't leave the party now, right? But I do want to say that if Stark's master, Eisen, was scared of his strength, imagine how scared Fern could feel if he even gripped her shoulder even slightly strong. As she says, you have to be gentle with me. And, oh boy, it's getting hot in this cabin.
Afterwards, Frieren treats Zine to food and drink at the bar. Zine wishes Fern and Stark would just date already. Dude, we've been shipping them for weeks now. Welcome to the club. Zine asks why Frieren wanted him to join the party so badly. She tells him about the aversion to one's own kind. She wanted to give Zine a reason to adventure, because that's what Himmel would have done. You were right, Mike. You called that 2 weeks ago.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, I'm glad he's in on the ship. And I also want to point out Himmel's invisible hand has been guiding a lot of these adventures. Really, like Frieren has taken Himmel's teachings and just applied them to her journey. So she's kind of like the Himmel this time around in helping people grow and develop.
In the morning, Zine decides not to live with regrets anymore and to chase after his friend, Gorilla. He says a quick farewell and leaves the party. Frieren says since Zine is an adult, he will be fine. Zine quickly realizes it gets quiet fast when you're on your own. Good luck, Zine. I believe we will meet again.
Just like that, he's gone. We're definitely going to meet him again, though. I predicted Gorilla was going to be dead, but maybe we'll get to meet Gorilla. Maybe he's not dead after all, and Sign's going to meet up with him.
We lost the captain of the ship. Oh, captain, my captain.
Oh, Captain, my Captain!
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
I am a little surprised he left just because there were multiple parts in the opening credits scene of the four of them walking together. It's like, oh, okay. Design will be here forever, ever. But I honestly have a theory that we could talk about later after we discuss the next episode, though.
Okay.
Hold that thought then. We'll come back to that. I'm anxious to hear. 29 years after the death of Himmel the hero, in the Offen mountain range, located in the northern lands. Stark caught a fish and a basket of other foods. He heads back to camp to find Frieren and Fern still sleeping. Figuring they must be tired due to all the walking, he makes breakfast. He tries to wake Fern, but it appears she is under the weather. He tries to wake Frieren, but she asks for 12 more hours of sleep. Stark gets her up by touching her cheek. Frieren says Stark is a monster. Frieren checks Fern's temperature and finds out she does have a fever. She says she has to identify what Fern has. Stark says he thought that was a priest thing and that only someone with the scriptures can do that. Frieren says that's true, which is why she always carries a copy with her. She is using it as a stand for the pot Stark made breakfast in. I feel like Frieren would never do that to a book. How much does she hate the goddess? Frieren finds out Fern just has a cold. Good thing Zine left a notebook about herbs with them.
If Friren's kind of said before, she doesn't really care about the goddess or believe in the goddess. She can use spells from it despite being a non believer, which kind of surprises me. I thought this would be one of those magics based on faith things, but I guess it's not, and just anyone with a book can use the magic if they understand a little bit about magic. So it's another ambiguous magic use thing here, but I can accept it that since she hasn't trained in the discipline of using the scripture, that she can now just only use a little bit.
They find a small farm to let Fern rest out of the cold. Frieren is holding Fern's hand, and Stark asks why she hasn't let go this whole time. Frieren says it has made Fern feel better since she was little. Fern gets embarrassed and rolls over. Frieren apologizes and says they will get the ingredients to make her some medicine.
Yeah, this is kind of just like a teenage daughter being treated like a little girl in front of the guy she probably likes. I kind of get why she'd be embarrassed.
Sean, you hit the nail on the head. I was thinking the same thing. It's like Fern has some sort of feelings for Stark, and to be treated like a child in front of him, it's like, oh, mom, you're embarrassing me in front of my crush.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
The two set out on a montage journey to acquire the ingredients to make Fern's medicine.
Myrtle, you didn't tell us you had a cameo in this montage.
It was just a brief appearance.
This show's like so good at montages.
It
Every
is.
time they have a montage, I get so excited.
I never thought I would appreciate montages the way that I do because of this show.
They use them a lot, but the music always rocks, and like the visuals, there's always comedy. I love it.
It feels like we get a montage a night, honestly,
Yeah,
or
at least
a
one.
montage an episode.
At least one an episode. Writers take notes. This is how you do a montage properly. They eventually find the big tree that has special mushrooms growing under it. Stark and Frieren talk about how she held Fern's hand. Stark says she was embarrassed because he was there. Frieren remembers years ago when she was sick and Himmel held her hand like that. Frieren says she will hold Stark's hand the next time he gets sick. Stark says, "Please don't, that's embarrassing." "We just went over this, Stark. Did you learn nothing?"
Seeing more and more Himmel influence on Frieren is fun. I still feel bad their feelings were never really resolved.
I agree. I would really wish those. I wish those two crazy kids got together back in the day. That flashback was so touching, though, of like Himmel holding her hand. It's like, yeah, you're not a kid, but it's still just nice to be taken care of.
Everybody needs some support from time to time. Frieren makes the medicine, and Stark comments that she looks like a witch. I love the smile on Friren's face while she's mixing this concoction. Frieren nurses Fern back to health, and Stark helps out around the farm. After Fern gets better, the party of three heads out to Alcest, the city of magic.
Maybe it was just me, but I was totally expecting Frieren to drop the quote that Himmel dropped on her when she was sick. It seems like we often get these playbacks of quotes. We'll get a quote in the flashback, and then in present day, we'll either get that same quote or we'll get a play on that quote. And I was surprised we didn't get that here.
I mean, Frieren did that with Zine when we were trying to recruit him.
Exactly.
Maybe next time. We get the ending song, the new ending song. The new song is actually the old song. Fooled you. I don't think I've ever encountered this before from another show, but they used the same ending song. They just used a different verse. I think this is the second verse of the song, where the first ending is the first verse of the song. So it sounds just a little different. I think they changed the rhythm up in this verse. So it's different but familiar. We do have new visuals. They're also very different from the way the show looks. It's actually more of like a stop motion kind of animation. I think it's pretty neat. I like it.
Yeah, I usually skip the ending. I think the English is a little brutal.
Yeah.
You know, I try not to chuckle at it, but I commend them for trying English in the song. I'd rather someone try than not, I guess. But the ending, if you look at the visuals, it's all about Fern and Freeren's relationship. And I guess that dynamic is going to be an important part of the second half of our first season here. So looking forward to them developing the Fern and Freeren relationship more.
After all that talking, I'm feeling a little parched.
Feeling a little thirsty,
I could use a drink.
having a thought of alcohol being the best medicine. In that case, it is time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's beer is another Grist House beer. Hooray! It is their Ursa Unleashed, a 5.4% New England style IPA, which is rather low for a New England IPA. Usually, when we get these IPAs, they're in the sixes, sevens, maybe even eights. So, for one to fall in a low to mid five range is a change of pace for sure. It is full of Mosaic, Riaka, and Cairo hops. It has a nice taste of passion fruit, white grape, lychee, and citrus. This can art is so cool. It's a bear with a laser eye. It's really neat looking. I feel like I've been on a grist house streak of late where with these beers of the week where it's like it may not be every week, but it feels like it might be every other week or 3 out of the last 4. But their beers are fantastic. So sorry I'm not sorry about it. The untapped average rating is a 3.88 and I give it a 4.
Episode 18, First Class Mage Exam. 29 years after the death of Himmel the Hero in the Cool region, located in the Northern Lands.
Hey, real quick, I'm gonna cut you off there. Every time you say the subtitle here, in my head, I can hear the music they play every time. Every time they show it, it's the same music, and I can hear it in my head.
That's awesome. I know the song you're talking about too. The party is close to Alcest and is traveling in a carriage the rest of the way. Frieren is explaining that the magical exam will test many things: mana, experience, skill, ability, tenacity. It's not all about strength. Frieren says Fern should take the exam instead of herself. Fern says she's not good enough. Only a handful of people have passed the test to become first class mages. Frieren recalls she has only lost 11 times, 4 to demons, once to an elf, and the rest to humans with less mana than herself. This test is gonna be nuts.
I'd love to hear more stories about the people who beat Frieren. The demons make sense, right? It was probably all during the travels with him, the hero, and that party. But the rest, when was she facing other humans? And when is she facing another elf? Because in the story, they've really given us no indication that she's ever really come across any other elves besides the members of her village who were slaughtered in Croft. So there's a lot more of her backstory we've definitely not explored. Oh, also, Free Rent's view of the sky being blocked by Fern's assets is actually really comical.
I, I laughed at that, but was ready to point that out, and then you did it for me, Sean. It's Freeren's just like laying back, and she's like, "Huh, can't see the sky." But I will say, give me a tournament of mages. Give me what I want.
I mean, there's a real good possibility that we could get a tournament arc coming up here.
I love tournament arcs. I'm a sucker for this stuff. DB, that's one of the reasons DBZ is so popular. They have tournament arcs. I think Yu Yu Hakusho has a super famous tournament arc. Hunter x Hunter,
Yeah, Hunter x
Hunter x
Hunter.
Hunter is a really big example. I have a feeling this is kind of going to be that way.
Dragon Ball Super had a ton of tournament arcs.
They did.
That's
That's
like all
true.
they had. It was good though.
In the frontier of Graf Granit's domain, located in the Northern Lands, we meet a green haired mage on her way to Alcest. She decides to rest for a bit when she is addressed by some bandits. They ask her to give up her staff. She's about to take action when one of the bandits is attacked by Croft. He's back. He beats up the thugs and lets them escape. The mage thanks him and says her name is Ubel. Croft introduces himself and says she has the flat eyes of a killer. Croft says he buried 3 bandits that were torn up by magic. Yikes. Ubel says she is going to take the mage exam. Things are about to get dangerous.
They have to show us the Psycho Mage to show the real dangers coming up. Also, I wanted to point out that it's nice seeing Croft. He's still in the story. And he mentions that he's really looking forward to sharing this story with Frieren. So he's like really excited to see her again because I think he doesn't. He said he hadn't seen another elf in a really long time, right? So I think that I don't know. He's just really like looking forward to go meet up with his elf friend again, and it's touching to me.
I was really bummed to see Croft go the opposite way of Ubel. It's like, just go with her. Give us the reunion now. Like, I want more of this guy. I want more of his backstory. I want more of his history. Like, give me that. Like, it's like, oh yeah, we'll see you again down the road. When? Who knows?
Frieren and Fern are registering for the exam. They are told they need a 5th class license or higher in order to take the test. Frieren wishes Fern good luck and tries to leave. Fern grabs her hand to stop her. The exam is only given once every 3 years. If Fern fails, they will have to wait until the next exam, hire a mage, or travel by sea. The second and third options are very expensive. Frieren says she has no certification, only that old pendant. An elderly man passes by and asks to look at said pendant. He seems to actually recognize this thing, so Fern and Frieren are now registered.
Give me the backstory of the Holy Emblem. She has brought this thing out like 3 times. They even go to a flashback. I know we're about to talk about it, but they go to the flashback and they don't even actually explain it then. So please give me the backstory of the Holy Emblem. Don't leave us hanging.
I got an absolute kick out of Frieren, like, oh, shucks, guess I can't take the exam. Oh, well, such a shame. Gonna leave. Bye.
That's so funny. She just turns around like, "Oh, see you later."
She's
Like,
tired. She says these organizations pop up every couple hundred years, and she's like, "Oh, do I really have to get certified every time one of these organizations pops up?"
I, I was about to say the same thing. Like, I love the flashback with the OG party where, like, they're like, Frieren, why aren't you a registered mage? And she's like, they keep changing these groups, so why do I keep wanting, like, why should I have to keep taking tests when they can't figure out how they want to, like, be organized? And then she's like, "Look, I have this pendant. What more do they need?" And everyone's like, "Uh, okay, that's a cool like pendant and all, but like, what is it?" And like, Hyder and Himmel and Eisen, they're all like, we have no idea. Like, what the hell is up with this pendant?"
I want to know what's up with the old guy and how does he know what it is?
Was the old guy? Was he one of the rank one mages in the exam hall? Or was the old guy? Do we never see him again?
I don't think we see him again. I kind of wanted to scroll back and watch again. I don't think he was present when they introduce all the other characters coming up here.
Yeah, I
So
want to know why he knows what it is.
he just like he strolls in the hallway and he's like, "Oh, I know what that is. She's okay. She can enter."
Come on, show. Give me what I need.
They find out there are 2 months before the exam, so Freerin and Fern hit the books and do some training. We get a montage of the training, but it looks like Freerin has a birthday during the montage. I hate that we don't know exactly how old she is.
That's one giant cake. Man, I love their montages. I say it every time. They're fantastic. And even the way it wraps up with them flying by the moon with like the really I don't know how to describe the music, but like the really serene music. I don't know. The point is the visuals paired with the music are always on point. I cannot say enough nice things about montages.
I love how in the montage, Freeren like sleepwalks over to Fern's bed, like gets in the bed and then rolls over Fern and puts her hand on Fern's mouth. And Fern like is unable to breathe and like has to lift her hand so she can actually breathe again.
At the exam, we find out the first test will split the entrance into teams of 3. Everyone is given a bracelet imbued with mana to quickly locate everyone's party. Frieren is in group 2. As she searches, Frieren finds her other 2 party members. One is a red haired girl with pigtails who is on the floor. The other is a silver haired girl sitting on top of the other girl pulling her pigtails. Frieren has this goofy look on her face and thinks to herself, violence has been chosen. Fern finds her team, the green haired girl Ubel, and a young man with glasses. This is going to be some test.
Yeah, during the introduction of those, or I guess the first grade mages are going over some of the key personnel who are here at the exam, and they point out Ubel and how she killed her rank one instructor during her rank three exam. And that kind of goes to show you that she's going to play a very large role going forward. And they also show like a really old guy, and I'm like, I can't tell if they're just pointing him out because uh he's kind of an outlier, and you're like, oh, you wouldn't expect that guy to go anywhere, or maybe he's just becoming a mage late in life and doing this as a hobby or something. I don't know, but he might play a big role in this. So I like that they've kind of given us a lot of potentially important players here, and I feel like we should keep them all in mind. But they also point out that Freeren's mana looks like an experienced mage's mana, showing that even Freeren has a hard time hiding her mana entirely all the time.
I know I've said it before, but I love when we get the inner monologues of characters. And like when Freeren was looking for her team, like we get her inner monologue of like, oh, what's gonna happen? Who's this? Like it was just cool. Like it's cool to see the inner thinkings of these characters and not just like, oh, I found my team. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Like to see the thought process and to hear the thought process is a nice touch. I don't know. Could you imagine if we would have got that in like Dragon Ball Z? Goku be like, ah la 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 la, punch, ah la 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 la, kick, Ah, la, 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 Kamehameha. The one thing I am looking forward to in this mage arc is the Fern and Ubo dynamic, because Ubo is not afraid to kill, like, has some evil tendencies, and Fern is very help everyone out. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out.
At the test site, the proctor tells everyone the goal. Each party is given a small cage. They must catch a bird called a stilla, and they have until tomorrow night. If all party members are not present at the end of the test, or if any party member leaves the testing ground, the whole party fails. Frieren's party are fighting with each other the entire time. The silver haired girl says they couldn't leave even if they wanted to because of the barrier around the test site. Frieren is impressed she actually heard the instructions through their combat.
This is a fun idea for a test. My initial guess, as far as this goes, is there. How many teams are there? Did they say?
It looks like there's a handful, but I don't think they say specifically how many.
You say there's like 10 teams. There's no way that there are like 30 birds inside this place, right? But my guess initially is that there's possibly only one Stilla in the whole testing ground, right? And they're gonna have to fight over it. So while it's more of an arc of like cunning as opposed to brute force, it's not a tournament arc. So combat won't be what this whole thing is about, I'm guessing. But it's a really fun idea. I'm really interested in seeing how it plays out. The writing of the show is fairly intelligent, so I think that they can execute something like that. Tournament arcs do require some level of intelligence to run, but I do really like the way something like, this is just like the Hunter x Hunter exam, where like their goals outside of just wailing on people, and I like that. So I imagine there are going to be some traps or other dangers in this test zone as well. And I also liked Freeren's facial expressions when her teams were fighting. I imagine she'll be making that goofy face many more times during this arc.
Frieren and party introduce themselves. The silver haired girl is named Lavina, and the red haired girl is named Kana. Both of them are third class mages and graduated from the same school.
I love Freeren's face every time Lavina and Kana get into a fight. It's always that funny, weird look to it. And it's just like her eyes are all closed and her mouth gets so like tight, and it's just a funny looking face. But with Lavina and Kana saying they were from the same school, what are the odds that these two were friends at one point that turned rivals?
Kind of seems that way.
Yeah, well, also, you know, it's going out there. There's the Stark and Fern ship, but I have a feeling there's going to be a Lavina Kana ship by the end of this. I don't know. The enemies to lovers trope is very popular these
Oh,
days.
sure is, especially in romantasy books. Now, if one of them was a shadow wielder, I would say absolutely the ship is happening. I also got a kick out of Kana calling Frieren a teacher, because I totally thought that Frieren had some mom vibes going with this group.
Somebody's got to rein these two in.
Yeah, could you imagine if their third person wasn't someone like Frieren? They'd be knocked out of this exam immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like she's gonna carry this on her back.
As they walk, the group comes across a stilla, and Frieren says to observe it. Kana jumps into action and controls the water around the stilla. As the stilla starts to fly away, Lavina freezes the water to trap it. All seems well, but Frieren tells them to duck. The stilla launches itself free and splashes water all over our party. Apparently, this bird can travel at the speed of sound. So much for this test being easy.
I love that there's strategy involved. I'm really liking this so far, but it leads me to believe we won't be seeing Stark for a while. And that's okay. He's gotten a lot of focus recently, and shifting focus to some other interesting characters could be a lot of fun. I really love arcs like this in anime. I mentioned it's Hunter x Hunter esque, but I also realized that they haven't come up with that one crazy character. Like if you're a Hunter x Hunter fan, you know about Hisoka, who for some reason takes like an unnatural obsession with the young Gon to the point it's quite creepy. And I'm like, please don't give me like a crazy mage who becomes obsessed with Vern's young talent or something like that. I'm like, I don't need that here. It's very comic book villainy, and this show's a little more grounded than that typically. So I'm okay without a Hisoka s character.
He is so over the top creepy. He takes it to a new level, and we definitely don't need that in this show.
Yeah, I don't need like some guy like staring at our protagonist from like far away in the forest and like feeling up his chest or something, like thinking about fighting or killing the character. We don't need anything like that. That's such a bizarre anime trope that they often do where like adult character wants to fight a 6-year old who's somehow stronger than them and gets like very excited to do it.
Way too excited. After a montage of a few failed attempts and some infighting, the group rests for the night. Kana can hear rain hitting the giant barrier. Just then, she is attacked by a giant monster bird. Her staff is sent flying, and she is pinned to the ground. She calls for Lavina's help, but the bird is moving in for dinner. All of a sudden, the bird is bound by a spell and it falls over. Frieren to the rescue. Kana says she can be a coward. The first time she had to cast a flying spell, she was too afraid. Lavina had to give her a push. Literally. Like Lavina pushed Kana off a cliff. No wonder they hate each other.
I just want to say that Frieren rocks. She's like probably my favorite character. She's putting on this team on her back, and she's really guiding them. This team would be dead in the water straight up if she wasn't there. I have a feeling though that Frieren can't carry the whole time, and that these two majors are going to have to get it together at some point. Uh, when she called off for Lavina, though, I was like, yeah, okay, the ship is going to be happening. I want to see more of their dynamic, and hopefully they don't just fight each other forever. I want to see more interesting things evolve.
I have to say, I really dug the flashback for Lavina and Kana. Like, it could have been so easy for the show to just skip over it and just said, "Oh yeah, they didn't get along," or for Kana just like, "Yeah, this happened the one time. Lavina pushed me when I couldn't figure out how to fly," and they could have just been done and over with it. But the fact that we actually got some like a flashback and some backstory for them was a really nice touch. Also, anyone else noticing that at least half of the characters in this show have a praise kink?
Yeah, I kind of see it when Freerun like puts her hand on everyone's head, and it's a good job. Everyone seems like unnaturally excited.
Yeah, and like Kana's like whenever she was trying to like in the flashback she was all down in the dumps, she's like, "You need to tell me good like praise me and tell me good things." It's like people in this show just they need their praise.
Kana seems to have found some useful information. She asks Frieren if it could be of any use. Frieren says it will be very useful. Cue the ending credits.
Yeah, so some general thoughts, I guess, right? I'm going to say that for my general thoughts, when all the episodes were just anecdotes, like half episode stories, it was really easy. It was a lot easier to not just watch ahead, but during this arc, it makes you just want to like blitz the rest of the series as fast as you can. And I already had a hard time not doing that. So it's making it even tougher because I want to know. Obviously, it's going to be dangerous. There's going to be spells flying. Is Fern going to be okay? Is Freon going to be okay? All the other characters we met, are they going to be okay? So I'm very optimistic and excited as to where this is going. Last episode, I think I mentioned how I liked how it's not a shonen format. I kind of mentioned that, and now it's kind of switching to the shonen format. But they spent so much time establishing characters and making me care about these characters that the shonen part of it is going to be greatly enhanced because I care even more about these characters. So, man, I feel like we're in for a great ride.
How about you, Mike? What'd you think about these two?
I really like these episodes. Um I will say so my theory about Stark leaving or not Stark, Sign leaving is with this being what appears to be a decent length arc, who knows, maybe it'll take up the rest of the season, seeing that this was episode, what, 18?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have 9 or 10 episodes left in the season, so maybe it doesn't take up the entire rest of the season, but most of the rest of the season. Do we really want Zine to just be not seen? At least this way he has a quest to go on that's like, okay, maybe we'll see Sign down the road. Oh, he found Gorilla. Cool. I'm a little surprised they didn't do something similar for Stark, though, because it's like, are we really going to see Stark if it's a mage training arc? What's going to happen to Stark the rest of the way while Frieren and Fern are in this mage tournament arc? But I am very excited to see where this arc goes. Because if it's anything like the Lugner mini arc and Aura mini arc, I am very excited. How about you, Turtle? What did you think?
I think these episodes are great, as all the other ones. But as our loyal listeners are aware of, I've seen a few episodes ahead because I started watching the show before we covered it, and I'm not going to stop until the episodes stop coming out. But I've seen a little bit ahead, and I'm very excited to get into this arc. So great episodes, great show. This is going to be really cool. And now it is time for our waifu of the week. Sean, how about you go first this time? Who is your waifu of the week and why?
For me, I was kind of between two people, but I ended up ultimately going with Frieren. Frieren's the main character of this show. Her name's in the title. Sometimes it's really hard for me to not choose her every single week because she is kind of like the ultimate safety net. When the party gets in danger, Frieren can kind of just bail them out. And she has quite a few times. I think that based on what I've seen about her party mates, I'm probably going to be picking Frieren for the next, 3 to 4 weeks. Unless Fern does something really crazy. But yeah, I feel I'm just going to be choosing Frieren the rest of the series because she's going to kick some butt and I'm going to love it.
Mike, who is your waifu of the week and why?
Oh, Captain, my Captain. I have to go with Zine. Especially because who knows when we'll see the guy again. But just the way he got Stark and Fern to apologize to each other and try to communicate with each other without Fern being mean to Stark and like look, yeah, Stark, you like the fact that he talked to them individually so they couldn't bicker back and forth and like he could get both sides of the story and like you could tell each of them had some regret to how they acted. It's like, okay, cool. So gonna really miss that dynamic for the party. How about you, Turtle?
This week, I'm going to go with Frieren. I feel like I pick her a lot, but I mean, she's the main character. The show's named after her. Of course, we got to pick her. Yeah, I mean, just her being herself. Like I think I said last time, I think I picked her last week. She's a great character. She has, serious moments. She has funny moments. And these particular episodes, she's got a lot of funny moments. She makes me laugh. But yeah, just her taking charge in her 3-party cell for this test. Her other two, mage allies are kind of unknown quantities. They seem to be more interested in violence amongst themselves versus actually completing the test. So Frieren kind of has to take the reins and kind of guide these two. And, hopefully they will get the Stilla they need. But yeah, I'm going Frieren this week. She's always fun.
So before we conclude, I didn't think about this until now, but the bird is called Stella, and all I could think of is Stella, Stella. Thanks for letting me amuse myself.
Anytime, my friend. Anytime. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watched Frieren Beyond Journey's End. We hope you will join us next week for episode 49 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch episodes 19 and 20 of Frieren. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Sean, you have anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I would like to plug the Demon Files podcast. Please go listen.
Mike, anything you would like to plug?
Couple things. The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. And just as importantly, we're celebrating our first anniversary. Hooray! Woo! Yeah! Go us!
Woohoo!
And to celebrate, we are giving away a 3-month subscription to Crunchyroll. To enter the contest, email a screenshot of you giving the podcast a 5-star review on Spotify and a screenshot of you being subscribed to the YouTube channel, as well as your name, and email us at animebanterpodcast@gmail.com. And do that before March 26, 2024. Again, send a screenshot of a 5-star review on Spotify, a screenshot of you being subscribed to the YouTube channel, and an email to animebanterpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, the email is animebanterpodcast@gmail.com, and do this before March 26.
Don't forget to send us your entries, and we will talk to you all next week.